What's up, everyone? China Cycling here. Last week at the Magene Power Training Camp, I had a chance to sit down and ask Hunter Allen a few questions about his thoughts on China, power training myths, and what he thought of the Gravit trainer. I'm definitely no pro interviewer, and I'll be sticking to my day job for sure, but check it out. It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Allen. I'd like you to take a moment to introduce yourself and the Peaks Coaching Group.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. It's exciting to be in China for the first time. And my name is Hunter Allen, and I was a professional cyclist, and I raced for 17 years. And then after that, I started coaching. And so right now, I own the Peaks Coaching Group, and we have 50 coaches, and we coach with athletes all over the world, riders all the way from the Tour de France to beginning riders. So we have over 1,000 athletes that we coach right now, and we have franchises in Brazil, in Germany, in the UK, and in Japan.
So this is your first time here in China, and your book has now been translated to Chinese. So why now, and why China?
Right. Well, one, I think it's a really big growing market. And I think that as a cyclist, we're seeing now cycling has been, a great commuting thing for millions of Chinese people for years and years. But now all of a sudden we have the sport of cycling that's starting to grow. We have races all over the country. We have very good riders. We have amazing racers. We have racers who are even racing in Europe from China. So it's really something that now is growing in a way that it's starting to explode, and that to me is exciting because the person who wants to improve in cycling, in the sport of cycling, they kind of jump over some of the things that we did in the United States, heart rate training and other kinds of training, and all of a sudden they get to go straight to the best training, which is training with a power meter. So it's a great time to be in China, and it's a great time to spread this word. The thirst for knowledge is really, really grand. So we've gotten so many questions about how do you do this, what do you do, that it's really exciting.
And so how much do you think your genetics affect your maximum ceiling, your maximum potential as a cyclist?
So genetics definitely plays a huge role in cycling. Now, all of us have the ability to improve, right? So anybody, no matter how big your lungs are, or how long your legs are, or how strong your muscles are, we can all improve. And that's something that I think we all should strive for. One, to be healthier, to eat better, to exercise more. Life is just better, right? Oh yeah, I'm really worried about you, Jeff. But but at the highest levels, sprinting, for example, if you're, how much fast twitch muscle fiber you have, that's really a genetic component. And so you're usually born a sprinter, or you're not. And then if you think of VO2 max, the volume of oxygen we bring into our lungs and can put that into our working muscles, there's a ceiling to that. But at the same time, again, you're trying to maximize that capacity. So eventually, to me, it's the best professionals in the world. Why are they the best professionals? It's very difficult in cycling, right? Because like in basketball, right, you can see some guy who's super tall. Oh, obviously he's going to be a great basketball player. But in cycling, we have so many different body types, the way that people look. You can't necessarily see what's inside and how they work inside. So it's always hard to determine that. But at the highest levels, the riders who have really big lungs are the best. The riders who have a really long femur, so the upper leg, they also have a big lever to push on the pedals. And so that plays a role. So here in China, you've got 1.6 billion people. So there's a lot of people. And just by sheer numbers, there's going to be some amazing athletes that come out of here. And I predict, you'll see a winner in the Tour de France from China. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Interesting. And so you mentioned earlier that China has this advantage of skipping and learning from the mistakes of America and Europe, but also they miss some of the tradition of maybe training in Europe and America. So do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing?
Right. So I think that, there's been some traditions that have been held a long time in Europe especially, and some of those things came over to the United States. One, for example, is this idea that, you can become a really powerful rider by riding around at 50 RPM for 3 or 4 hours. Like, that doesn't really work that way. It just makes you good at riding around for 3 or 4 hours at 50 RPM. But, so I think that being able to just, skip some of those things and go straight to true principles that are based in science, that are based on the principles of training with power, that are looking at what we call the dose and response. So, you have wattage, that's your training dose. Response is the VO2 max, your heart rate, the rate of perceived exertion. Those things are really critical. So, and we have this these principles. I call them the 7 steps for power training. And if you follow those steps, then it's repeatable. So you can do it over, and you can track your improvement. So that's really exciting for China to be able to leapfrog some of these mistakes, so to speak, at the same time. And then at the same time, right? I mean, we're all constrained by time, right? So the best riders, they're always going to ride more, right? So if you want to be a pro athlete and pro cyclist, you're going to ride 20 to 30 hours a week. Now, you've got to do the principles of power training as well, right? But there's no substitute for hard work and dedication, persistence, and just plain old getting out there and pedaling your bike.
I think thanks to the internet and thanks to all technology, you can be coaching someone down the road from you, or you can be coaching someone on the other side of the world to you now. Like, gone are the days where you have to follow on a motorbike or leaning out the window with a megaphone. Like, now, a rider does their ride, they send you their fit file, and then you can give them their feedback,
Absolutely. I mean, it's incredible the fact that, I coach 10 or 11 athletes myself, and I've got an athlete in Japan, I've got 2 in Brazil, I've got 1 in South Africa. I've got these athletes all over the world that I know exactly what they do. I know exactly what kind of ride they do. Here's the training prescription. They go out and they do that prescription. Here's the data that I can see, and then I can see how they're improving, and I can make changes to their training plan so they get better. And then I know when they need to rest. I know when they can train harder. So all of those things, it's something that we never had before. We were really guessing for years and years and years before we had a power meter. So that's been a revolution for sure.
Okay. And if someone wants to get coached by the Peaks Coaching Group, what should they do?
So go to our website, peakscoachinggroup.com, and we have an inquiry form there. You can just inquire right there. Our list of coaches are there. We've got different coaching levels, so it's easy to get signed up. What we like to do is we want to match you with the right coach. Okay. So let's say, for example, you're a mountain biker. Well, let's get you the right mountain bike coach. Or let's say, for example, you're a racer who wants to complete a Gran Fondo and go over 3 or 4 mountains. Well, we've got coaches who've done those things and coached other riders. Okay. So we need to match those things up. That's really key. But it's super easy to get started in coaching. If you've got a power meter, you have a desire to improve, and you want to make it happen, then let's get started.
Okay, good. And what do you think of the Magene products and the Magene Power Camp?
Well, it's super exciting to see that we have a direct drive smart trainer here in China that is super successful and highly accurate. So one of the most important things that you can have in an indoor trainer is, one, you need to be able to have it easily connect to your computer so that you can do training on it. And then 2, you want it to be highly accurate and you want it to be consistent. So you have to have those 3 things. And the great thing about it, too, is the fact that it's a direct drive trainer. So it feels like the road. So that's a really great feature of this trainer. So to me, that's a big part of it. Our training camp here is super exciting. Again, we've got some of the great people who are here, the leaders in of the cycling world as a sport, coaches. We've got bike shop owners. We've got athletes who want to improve. So being able to tell them and teach them a little bit more about training with power, give them the power training principles, I call them. Mm-hmm. And then go out and ride and have a great ride here. And we've been doing some testing today. So we did our 20-minute test, yep. And that we take a little bit percentage off of that, usually 5% off of that. That is around what we call your FTP or functional threshold power. And then yesterday we did our 1-minute test, our 5-minute test, and then 4 sprints to get our best 5 seconds. So, bringing this knowledge in a way that allows everybody to easily understand it is really, really beneficial, because power training is not just for the professional. It's definitely for everybody. And so we want to make sure that these steps are easy to understand and simple to understand. And so, power training is definitely going to be increasing in China.
Okay, that's good. And lastly, I thought I'd ask you a question like, what are the biggest training or power training myths that you wish would just go away? The things that people are always asking you, hey, I heard that if I do this, I can win the Tour de France. Like, right, what are the things you wish you could just make go away?
Right. Well, I think number one is that that strength plays a huge role in cycling. Okay. It really doesn't. You have guys who are big, strong weightlifters, and they're not great cyclists because they have so much muscle mass. They can't convert that strength into a pedaling motion or into a cardiovascular way that they can go faster on a bicycle necessarily. So, one, you don't need to be strong from a muscular standpoint to be a good cyclist. Think about some of the best riders in the world. They're tiny, right? They're very thin. They don't have big, strong muscles. They have very developed cardiovascular systems. So number one is, you don't need that strength. And number two, the training, there's this idea of that you need to spend a lot of time riding at your base level. Like, I just need to ride around at an endurance pace for hours and hours and hours. Well, maybe if you're a pro in Europe, or maybe if you want to be a pro, then okay, you need to create that base of training. But for the rest of us, I don't have time to ride around for 4 or 5 hours every day. I'm sure you don't either, right? So we're just going to get out of shape too. It's riding too slow. So it's fine to ride a little harder, right? You can ride at tempo, or what we call sweet spot, 88 to 93% of your FTP. In the winter, you can ride and stay fit and keep yourself at a relatively decent level of fitness, and then focus and push yourself in 8 weeks or 16 weeks so that you can reach the peak of fitness that you want. So if we can kind of get rid of those two things, that would be great.
Okay, well, we can try. Hopefully the bug will help us.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Again, a huge thanks to Hunter Allen for his time. Apologies for my sloppy interview technique. I'll work on that in the future. Anyway, hope you gained something from that little video, and that just about wraps up the coverage of the Magene Training Camp. Apparently, planning is already in the works for next year's camp, and I'll be sure to be there. China Cycling, out.